everyone, welcome back to another week on the channel and to another speed build. We're in the beautiful world of Windenburg this time around, building on a 30 by 20 lot on the Crumbling Isle where Peer Palace was originally situated. Now I drew inspiration from a very special build I discovered on the Modern House, which is one of my favourite research sources, and it was a contemporary single-storey home on the lake with lots of glass, marble and wood, with some very interesting interiors which I ended up putting my own mid-century spin on, because the original interiors were very eclectic to say the least. Now the house itself is a slight cross shape with a balcony that wraps around the perimeter where lots of entertaining happens, and I've made sure to reflect the balcony on the side entrance, which was kind of the main natural entrance where the Sims would gravitate to in gameplay, and I'm happy I did the staircase there. Now I lifted the build and placed it on a stilted foundation just to get a sense of the build kind of integrating within the water. I had in mind that this was man-made rather than a natural body of water that was built on, so I'm happy with how the effect came into play once we do get into the terrain manipulation. Now here I am just adding the staircase, which I believe is from the businesses and hobbies pack, in that kind of grey palette, which is something that we'll use as we pull out the swatches for the exterior. Now I did much of the terrain manipulation off camera. I do tweak it as we go actually, but I just wanted to get the initial basis down for how deep parts of the water would be, and I've chosen this mossy kind of swatch, water swatch. I thought it kind of blended into the landscape as much as possible, despite being a man-made pool of water. And here we are just refining and perfecting. Once we had the floor plan, that kind of island part that you see in the center of the build disappears with a kind of ugly white box, so I make sure to pull up the terrain. Now here we are adding a cantilevered ceiling just to provide some protection from the elements, come rain or shine. And I wanted to create a contrast, so I've added this slatted metal sheet roof in a black, and from there I thought it'd be quite nice to have this eco element, so I'm adding a cutout using a low fence, and this is where we add a tree in, which is taken from the environment, so it's not completely out of the blue, but I thought it was a nice element. This actually wasn't part of the main build, but I really liked the vantage point it gave from the front. And here we're creating some light wells for the ceilings. So we have one for the front entrance, one for the main atrium, which is where the open plan living space is. And you can just see there I'm mapping out where to put the light source for the main bedroom, which is to the left of the build. And I'm just copying over all the trims, and I make sure to delete that fence off camera for all of them, otherwise it would be a very boring watch. Now here is the Skylights of Dreams, which I tend to overuse a lot, but they're from the Island Living pack, and I've not put them flush next to each other. I wanted to create this kind of architectural element with some spacing between, so it was quite a kind of nice industrial element. And here's the matching tree to the Windenburg world. I've added a tree guard just so it wasn't growing out of bare concrete, but just made sure to size it up using the tool mod, just to get the right dimensions. I don't know where I would be without that mod. Thank you very much, Twisted Mexi. And I believe we're adding some solar panels, so going back to that eco intention that I wanted for this build. I do wish we had some more swatches of those solar panels, perhaps in a black or more neutral tones. Now here we are making sense of the exterior paint. So I've actually pulled this swatch, this exposed concrete swatch from the Desert Luxe packs. I love that wallpaper. It felt very brutalist and in keeping with this kind of juxtaposition between modern and natural landscape. And in turn, I've chosen this dusty, worn wood panel swatch for the flooring. And here we're getting a sense of the window placement. Now, in the original inspiration house, they had a double-heighted window moment, so I wanted to reflect that by merging the businesses and hobbies windows together. And there was a nice pot actually on these wings that jut out from the center, where the center panel is just wall itself, and I wanted to reflect that as well in this build, so we can add some furniture once we get into the interiors. Now I'm just making sense of the layout, and of course these kind of change as we create the floor plan later in the build. But particularly from this side of the build, I wanted to make the most use of the light, so I did a few doors onto the balcony from the bedroom and from the living room, and did it in the contrasting kind of metal black swatch, so everything felt very sleek and intentional. And just have a double window moment here. I show you very briefly how I manipulate the window to make it look like a double story swatch, but I end up doing that off camera to save time. Now we're into the interiors, just making sense of the floor plan. So to the left is the main bedroom with an ensuite and a walk-in wardrobe. So some very lucky Sims that get to live here. And to the right, there's a kind of TV chill out room, because we don't end up adding a TV to the main living area. A second bedroom with a main bathroom, and then a central atrium with a kind of utility area. Now adding details to the front entrance. I love that mailbox. I love how small and sleek it looks, so very much in keeping with this build. And then pulled out some planters from the Journey to Batu pack, which is quite controversial because I don't ever play that pack, but I love the swatches that came with it and the items for build and buy. So very much comes in handy for these kind of contemporary brutalist builds. And here I am just adding some exterior lighting. I wanted to get a sense of quite moody vibes, but not very overly lit, so I think I go into a different light mode here. Yeah, it's really nice atmospheric lighting. And in contrast to the black metal sheeted ceiling roof, I've chosen a lighter under ceiling swatch, again to kind of marry in with that soft grey palette that we've got going on. And for the interior, I've chosen a lime scale tile. This was actually taken from the main inspiration build. I really liked how this looked. I never would use this usually for a ceiling, but kind of played off that mid-century vibe that I was going for. And where to now? I think we are going to start finishing the front balcony with some additional planters just for a bit of greenery. And then I believe we add a kind of pit area on the left side of the balcony. Nice chill out space. Once we go into the tour at the end, you'll see it's like such a beautiful vantage point for the sunset and for the sailing boats. It'd be an absolute dream to live here. Very calming. Made sure to pull out some furniture that creates some contrast and isn't completely minimal. So I've taken them from the Snowy Escape pack, those chairs. And also this kind of, I think it's called like a rain chain or something. They were on the original build that I drew inspiration from, so I thought it'd be quite nice to pay homage to that. We have an outdoor entertaining dining area with a barbecue and some sun lounges. These are from the Eco Living Lifestyle pack. Really love how sleek these look. Very modern, with a little table where we've added a tray, so there's a gameplay element there. Quite nice for the Sims to chill and grab a drink. Here we've just also created another conversation moment with a couple of sofas from the Snowy Escape pack in that matching swatch, and a nice concrete side table. So all these kind of industrial elements working together. Make sure to add a drain pipe connecting to the main bathroom. I love these doors that they've added to the game. I think they added more swatches, but they really work perfectly with this kind of mid-century contemporary vibe. Very much welcome the Sims team adding more swatches to these base game items. Really beautiful in that dark, rich wood swatch. Now we're in the interiors and we are just finishing the main atrium hallway with a few tidbits. This is my favourite side table. I believe Peacemaker may have worked on that one with the game. I've done it in a very soft grey tone. And then pulling out some artwork, I actually used the tool mod to size this up. Just wanted to create a bit more of a moment, more of a statement. Did I believe a 1.4 for reference. And then a few little bit of trinkets here and there. So it'd be quite nice as well to have a full-length mirror for when you're leaving and coming back home to check yourself out. A dark swatch with those kind of metal industrial elements. Also added some lighting. I actually used the base game lighting, but in a black and white swatch for contrast. So it was quite a nice nod to a mid-century light, especially with the contrast of the skylight swatch. And then couldn't find the thermometer anyway. I think it's called a thermostat, sorry. Did it in a black. Sort of made sense with it being kind of an eco-friendly build. Now we are onto the kind of lounge TV area. I've added my favourite paneling from the refined living room kit, which I've actually finally remembered for once in a video. And we also use the floating shelves from the sleek bathroom kit. Really useful item to have in the game now. You can just add so much clutter with the snap points. So just added some books and a gaming console and also a TV above that kind of acts as some artwork. And completely forgot about this modular sofa from the home decorator kit, I believe it's called, but I love it in that green swatch that plays off the concrete flooring and those dark wood elements. I can imagine it's a very comfy sofa in real life. Adding a low coffee table for an extra source of light and detail. And then also some artwork. I've taken the same canvas but just changed up the swatch to marry in the tones that we have in the room. And I was imagining these blinds are integrated into the wall, so you just use a remote really. It's very, very sleek, very James Bond-esque. And in this section, I wanted to add a kind of music element, so with all the new vinyl players that have been added, I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to have one on the far wall with kind of a seating area. And here I'm just adding a low coffee table from the Moschino pack, I believe it is, with a cool kind of mid-century light, a few magazines. As I said, it's a very kind of lounge spot here, so kind of makes sense that the furnishings feel a little bit more relaxed. There I am picking out the vinyl player. Really beautiful item. Almost looks like TC really. And the new lounge chair from the pack. From the businesses and hobbies pack. And yeah, just a really nice moment. Decided to add these ceiling lights. I think they're from the base game, but I've decided to cool down all the lighting using the tool mod trick, which is really useful. You just shift click and you can tone down the lighting to like a soft, cool blue or whatever kind of hue you want really. Now for the second bedroom, I've chosen this dark green swatch on the wall. The original build that I drew inspiration from had this kind of lime coloured wall and it wasn't really fitting in with the aesthetic that I wanted, so I've decided to deepen things down. It's quite nice actually. It plays off the elements of the nature combined with the water that we have going on. I added in the side tables from the Dream Home Decorator in this really rich mahogany wood swatch. I wish we had more side tables that were that size. Some of them are gigantic and look kind of comical next to the beds, so it's quite nice to work with those. And I did my new favourite wall sconce from businesses and hobbies. done it in that kind of pewter, charcoaly shade. Adding a mirror onto this wall. And then we also add a dresser, a matching dresser from the Dream Home Decorator kit in that beautiful mahogany wood swatch with a few trinkets and some artwork above in the tones of the room, so those nice rich oranges combined with the greens. I believe we add a rug here from potentially the refined living room kit in that green swatch. And then some lighting, just mirrored the lighting that we did from the lounge area. It's really nice, this bedroom, because it has double doors leading out onto the balcony space, so it feels almost like a private balcony for yourself. And moving on into the main bathroom, I finally got the opportunity to use the pieces from the sleep bathroom kit. Gorgeous, gorgeous kit. There's so many beautiful things that Sibilek produced, and in particular, these tiles are so incredible. I was searching high and low CC for a kind of vertical tile like this, but decided to do it in a kind of crisp white. There's slight variations to the swatch, but I like how sleek and contemporary this looks. Doing my trick of a sunken shower here, using the walls and then pulling down the foundation. And I pretty much go to town using the sleep bathroom kit items. Just wanted to make use really of some new items in the game. And everything, it also helps that obviously everything matches, which in reality a bathroom suite would do. But yeah, beautiful things here. That sink is gorgeous. Freestanding sink. And these wall panels like really come in handy actually for not even just a bathroom setting. You can add them really anywhere, behind a bed, as a bed head. But here I've just added a few trinkets, a plant, a vase, and of course some towels. Nice to have some new towels in the game. I think here I just add a vase, again from Journey to Batu. And added a plant here, not from the sleep bathroom kit. I've actually used that in the ensuite bathroom, so just wanted to change things up so everything was the same. And of course my trusty products that I always add to my showers. Again, with not wanting to be too matchy, I've used this oval mirror that kind of provides some vanity space. And here, pulling out an urn from Journey to Batu, as I mentioned. Now into the main living atrium. This is the dining room space, so I wanted it to feel kind of statement with the pieces that were chosen, and I kind of pulled pieces that I would never really work with. So this side table, for example, never really think about using that swatch, but I thought it really tied in with the artwork that we've chosen for the wall. And then just adding a few trinkets here and there. I think I had a bowl, yep. I had a bowl in this orangey black swatch, I believe. There we go, a gold kind of swatch. And then as for the dining table, wanted this to feel like a contemporary moment, so use some swatches again that I never really would gravitate to. So this like mahogany burgundy wood, leather, sorry, with this grey wood really plays off the landscaping that is outside, the vegetation. Gorgeous leather chair from the refined living room kit with a side table. And some books. Lots of reading spaces here. You'll notice with my style of build, there's always zones for people to read because it's a lovely pastime. And then I believe we add a chandelier over the top of the dining space from the Moschino pack in a dark black swatch for contrast. And if you see this room through different zones of the day, it's Really beautiful how the light pours in. Carried through that wood paneling to what will be the wall for the kitchen, just to create some contrast against that white wall that we have running throughout the house. I've done a medley of counters and cabinets here, so one from the Dream Home Decorator kit, another, I believe, oh, where are you from? Not sure, but it's one of the most recent kits where we've had a kitchen implemented in the sagey green swatch. And I think I made it work and not look too silly. And here, just creating a island moment. This was working from the original build inspiration, actually. They had this great big island in the center, which I thought was a nice touch, with some seating. And it really just created some zones to this open plan living area. Adding a sink in this brushed silver tone with a stovetop. And also pulled these bar chairs, high chairs, that I've never used before and I absolutely love in that swatch. It really plays off the dining room chairs that we've introduced. Adding some details to the countertop here, the plant, and some bowls. I think that's from the Island Living pack, but could be wrong. And make sure to deepen down that pot there in a black. And then here I wanted some open shelving, so pulled that in and decorated that off camera because it took me a while to scour through the catalogue and try and find some things. But really happy with how the detail came out. I've also pulled in a debug teapot from Businesses and Hobbies in that ceramic swatch. Really beautiful. See there, I'm just playing around with the light just to kind of showcase the different aspects of this build during different times of the day. Added the wood paneling to the back wall, which will be the space where we add the fire log burner. And I was kind of stuck for where to add the lighting here because the skylight interrupted having a ceiling light. So I thought it quite nice to add some portrait wall lights here just for some extra moody atmosphere when it gets to night. I've used the sofas from the Refined Living Room kit and the singular chairs in this slightly off beige green sagey swatch, and then just gone around really and added detail. So it was kind of cool to bring in this chest set, and then we add some magazines, I think from the Moschino pack. Very loungy, very cool and contemporary. I love using this base game lamp. I think it actually looks really contemporary in this kind of, I don't know, pewter, goldy kind of colour. Bronze, maybe. And here just choosing a plant for the corner of the build. I believe here this is where I just increased the size of the rug itself so everything felt a little bit more even. It's looking a touch cramped given how much width we have to the living space. You'll see here this is why we created a TV room, I guess, because this is more of a conversation style room more than anything. And finish things off with a little leather and wood stool, just for some extra detail. Here's where I remembered to add some pendant lights above the kitchen counter. So I think these are from the base game. I can't really see there's an icon next to those lights in the catalogue. Again, using that canvas that we've used already throughout the house, but sizing it up to 1.4, I believe, and just created a moment here with a plant and a stand. And then I was thinking of ways to break up the white, so decided to bring in the wood paneling that we've used as an accent. And this will be where the utility room lives. Made sure obviously not to forget a bin. Now my favourite one from the game, due to that timed event that we had. And then also this little wall detail thing from the refined living room kit. Really nice. And adding some extra lighting around here. And I believe we add... What are we doing? Oh, some lighting. So yeah, we move into the utility space here. So carried through the counters that we used in the kitchen. And this is really just where you want to hide everything that you don't want on show. So all your appliances. I think I was looking for the marshmallow tray that was introduced with the timed event. So I've added that to the corner soon. I did a coffee machine. Be great to have one of these in your house, just so if you have a dinner party or something, you can just close the door and worry about it for another time while you're hosting guests. And added some overhead cabinets here for extra storage. Here's that tray that I was talking about earlier. Could not find it for love nor money until discovered it in a black. And then yeah, just added some aprons. Dustpan and brush, you know, those practical things you actually need for a house rather than all the aesthetic things. I forgot completely about these bookshelves and thought they really worked with that mid-century vibe. Just cluttered those off camera. I can see that window glitch, drives me insane, but obviously when I'm building I just forget to switch them out. But what can you do? Now for the main bedroom, I've used this dusty beige kind of swatch. Wanted this to feel quite calm, this room, so played off those tones with the bed that we've used and the side tables in this kind of dusky neutral swatch, sandy tones. I thought in my head where the other bedroom kind of played off the forest and the nature, this played off the beach. So it's nice to bring in those elements, those inspiration elements to this build. And here I'm just adding some statement pendant lighting to the bed itself. I've seen this many a time in a hotel or a fancy house, so I wanted to replicate that in The Sims. And I imagine the people that live here love to read a lot, so that's why you'll see books scattered here, there and everywhere. And what have you to relax and read? I've used this rug from the base game, which I always forget about, and there's some really beautiful swatches actually there, so I've pulled in the neutral swatch, and it plays off all the kind of tones that we've got going on in the room. Added the dresser, which kind of accompanies the side table that we've used in the dining room area. Again, an object that I don't really gravitate to that much, but it was nice to try something new. I think when you do things in a neutral swatch, you can kind of get away with being more experimental with the kind of crazy items in the game. So you'll see here also, I've chosen a desk area, kind of a vanity area, I guess you could call it, with the mirror above it, and this light wood swatch. And mirrored the dining chair but in a different leather swatch with the mirror above. It's just an area really where you can get ready and pamper yourself. I did a few trinkets off camera and repositioned the ceramic vases off the grid. And then for this section I thought it'd be quite nice, this little alcove, to have a seat. So again, I've chosen something I never would usually use, which is a leather back chair. It's kind of sculpted, and I believe it's potentially from the base game. Oh no, it's not. It's from, I think, For Rent actually. But yeah, I thought it was kind of cool, considering we had all these like leather elements in the room, in those beige tones. And then we move on into the walk-in wardrobe. Now, initially I was just going to add freestanding wardrobes, but then I remember we have the integrated ones, so decided to use those instead, and that way, you know, it feels a lot more realistic. So just pulling in the wall and flooring swatch, and actually kept this walk-in wardrobe in the same swatch, that the standard swatch that it came with. with a floor mirror, freestanding mirror, to get ready and look at your outfit. Very simple, but very effective. And then finally, we move on into the ensuite bathroom. Now, I've pretty much mirrored the swatches for the flooring and the wallpaper, mainly as too many wallpapers can slow down a build, but also I just like the effect that that main bathroom had, so definitely wanted to mirror that for this ensuite bathroom. But here we actually add a bath from the sleep bathroom kit. Felt a lot more spacious here. And I've actually pulled out the swatch that has this kind of bronze metal instead of the silver, just for a point of difference. And created a half wall here where the toilet will sit, because even though we will have blinds on these windows, I can't imagine it's very comfortable to do your ones and twos with a floor-to-ceiling window. A little vanity area here where the sink is, and there's the plant from the new kit, so beautiful. I think I'll probably be using that in many a modern build going forward. And we add the finishing touches before we go into the final tour, which is where I'll leave things now. If you do like the video, please give it a like and subscribe. I'll also have this build up on the gallery under Curiopher Sims, and you can find all my socials in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.